Good evening, Internet, and welcome to Top Shift number 120. Right at this moment in time, you'll find me at Shanj Market. Nothing to do with the Commander Shan at Live Radio. And although this week they announced the release of fleet carriers, one of the things that I wanted to go over is this much maligned mode of Elite Dangerous called Powerplay. Now, what is Powerplay? Now, it is a game within a game of influence. In Elite Dangerous, there are these 11 individuals who have a kind of secret war and hidden agenda going on in the background. And these are them. So we've got the Alliance President, two members, there's actually 3 members of the Empire, a couple of people in the Federation, 4 people in the Empire actually. And what happens is that they're always trying to gain a foothold over one another, and basically they try and rule the galaxy from behind the scenes. Now, there's always this going on, there's always this secret war. There's this kind of hidden Game of Thrones which is going on, except a lot less beheadings. Now, one of the reasons why this game mode has been ignored or maligned by the majority of the community is because it does have a reputation of being very, very grindy. So what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd give a deep dive into the whole process to see if it's actually worth it. But the first thing that I will say about this game mode is that it's not something you should lone wolf. It's not something that you should try and play by yourself. That is why it's got its reputation of being grindy and uninspiring, because basically if you do this by yourself, you'll probably see, after I take you through a couple of steps, it can seem quite boring. The main advantage of this part is if you get in a squadron or a community which supports this power, then the game, this mode opens up and becomes really, really engaging. And I'm hoping to show you why while I do this. So this is my pledge power. Arissa Lavang Duval, the Empress or Emperor herself. And as you can see, she's number 2 at the moment. And you have this thing called CC income. Now, CC is command capital. Now, this is the lifeblood of the game. You personally do not have any command capital. The command capital is just for the powers. However, your actions will generate or help generate a command capital for your power. And of course, the more command capital you have, the better your power will do. So it's quite simply, you are a game piece in a massive game of Risk. And obviously, the more game pieces you have in Risk, the more chance you have of winning. And it's pretty much the same to Powerplay. Now, you'll notice that there are various details here about the year of birth. Now, we're at 3306, so she's what? At least 63. Not looking bad for 63. But then again, this is the 33rd. The 31st century, so effectively anti-aging's probably come along quite a way from that way. Now, as I said, command capital. Now this, as said, is the lifeblood of Elite Dangerous Powerplay. As you can see here, we have CC income, what's command capital income, from 962 exploited systems. You have upkeep, which is a debit for 88 controlled systems, CC overheads, which are just basic expenses, and of course a balance, which is the total command capital available. Now, where does command capital come from? Well, that's quite interesting, because if I go to control systems here, these are the control systems of our power. As you can see, there's quite a lot of them. Now, what a control system does is that it will say, right, I am a control system, therefore any system which is within 15 light years of me is exploited. And each one of those systems, dependent on their income and their population, generates an amount of command capital. So the more systems you have within 15 light years, and the richer they are, the more command capital you get. So in this case, this particular system here has an upkeep cost, but it's got an upkeep cost of 21, which is what you have to pay in order to in command capital. That's what it costs to keep the system in line. But you have a base income of 29 command capital. So at this moment in time, you end up with a profit of 8 command capital from this particular control system. Now, there are ways to make that more expensive or cheaper, and we'll be coming on to that in a minute. So effectively, control systems are in charge of exploited systems which generate money, but of course control systems cost money. So you've got to always try and keep your have control systems which are in profit. Now, obviously, you've got to keep control, and that is one of the there's actually 4 main tasks in Powerplay. There's actually 5 or 6, which I'll touch on each in future episodes. But in this case, we have a control system here, and you'll see that there are 2 sections here. We have fortify and we have opposition. Now, we don't have to worry about opposition just yet, especially here, but what we do have to worry about is fortify. Now, if you manage to fortify your control systems, basically it reduces the amount of command capital for a cycle. And as you can see, if you reduce the command capital for a cycle here, it reduces its upkeep cost, down to 0, which means that the entire base income becomes a full 29 command capital. So it pays to spend some time helping to fortify your control systems in the long run. Now, I should point out that Powerplay is decided over weekly cycles. So you have a week turn, if you like, to do Powerplay actions, and at the end of that turn, everything is all calculated, and new galactic standings are shown. So, for instance, if I go to the galactic powers here, I will find, these are the order that people are going in. So, number 1 is the Alliance President, and okay, number 2 is the Emperor, and the Federal President, he's in 4. Now, I shall point out that there are, as I said before, there are 4 kind of main actions you can do in Powerplay. Just quickly touched on control. You have expansion, which is where you have a system which is ready for you're trying to turn into a control system. In this case, 169G Canis Majoris is under an expansion attempt at the moment. I don't think it's going to work, because when you look at it, you can see that we've got 237% for and 2,719% against. So I don't think we're going to be able to get that system, which is a bit of a shame, because it's got a potential profit of 7cc, which at this point every positive cc counts. So we end up with control, we end up with expansion, and then you have preparation. Now, I've kind of gone in the wrong order here. Preparation is the starting point of where you want systems to expand to. So people will try and prepare, various players will try and prepare the systems so that at the end of the turn, the system with the highest preparation will normally go into expansion. So at this point you can see that HIP 53719 is looking a likely target to become the next expanded system. It's got a potential value of -2 CC, which is a bit of a worry. But then again, if you manage to fortify it, it could actually still be profitable. Now, in order to get that, we at the end of this turn we will spend 131 CC if we are going to move that into expansion. So I've covered the main topics, so I'm going to go into more in depth into control. Now, control, we're going to try and find a system where I can make a little bit of a difference here. They might all have been fortified by now. Oh no, we've got one there. I shall point out that the you'll see here, we were discussing fortification earlier. You have other powers can try and undermine your control system. Now each system, I'll show you how to do this in other systems in another for other powers in another video. But at the moment, you have to make sure that any system that you are fortifying gets over the 100%, so that you don't end up with a massive cost to your CC if it's just trying to find a system here which we can use. Got so many of them. Right, 33. That'll do. It's 41 light years away, so view that one on the map. Bases, if you see here, its default upkeep cost is 22. Its cost if undermined is 160. So if the enemy manages to undermine you and you do not fortify, that system will cost 160 CC for your turn. Now, if a lot of your control systems get undermined, it means that you'll end up with your power will end up with a CC deficit for the next turn, and that will lose you systems. But it's not something that we're going to discuss on this particular turn. So if I haven't been to this system before, that'll be interesting. Now, so that's a set the system that we're going to help out in. How do you help? Well, there's normally 3 tasks, which if I go to the powers section here, power contact, you'll see that they've got various actions that you're able to do. Now here we have, now this is where the game gets its reputation for being grindy. Depending on the power that you have various tasks, mostly which will involve delivering stuff or shooting stuff. And a lot of people get very bored with just constantly delivering the same thing again and again and again. There was talk of linking this in with the mission system, but that hasn't been talked about for the last 18 months, 2 years. There's been nothing major changes to Powerplay for basically almost 3 years now, so it's the flaws that everybody knows about are still there, which is a bit of a shame. But now I've used my allocation for taking these supplies to a control system. So these are garrison supplies. As far as this is concerned, ALD, that's what I'll be calling my power from now on, has 3 particular tasks. The first one, which is control, is where you take these supplies to garrison a control system, and you always take these supplies from your HQ system, which is why I'm in Shanj Market. So I've used my 20 quota, and then you can buy more if you want, or I can wait half an hour to get more, but I don't have time for that, so I will spend 600,000 credits getting my cargo bay full. Yay. So that's another thing. It's not really, if you're looking to make money using Powerplay, isn't going to happen. But then again, I don't think that's really the point of this part of the game. So we've got our cargo hold full of 80 tons, and we'll launch. Now, one thing I should point out at this point, if I go back to galactic powers, is you're not just doing it for the good of your power. You get something out of it as well. Now, this is my personal settings. Now, I am rating 3. I've been here at 4 weeks 1 day, which means that I've unlocked a whole load of little goodies. I have a weekly bonus of 500,000 credits, which, to tell you the truth, is absolutely nothing. I get a consolidation vote, which I'll talk about when we go through the preparations phase. I'm allowed 20 free commodity allocations, which is what you saw when I loaded up, and I now have access to the Imperial Hammer, which is this special unique power equipment. Every member of the Powerplay has a unique ability. Some have shields, some have missiles, some have special kind of lasers, and that's what people were originally just ground out for. They just ground to get the new equipment and then left the power, which is a bit of a shame, because if they had stuck with it, met up with a whole load of people, or a community rather, then they'd find there's a lot more depth to the game. Oh, right, hang on. That's a little bit yuck. So I need to go back to the galaxy map and let it redo that. There we go. Yeah, I'll just point this out. This is the Powerplay galaxy map, and you can see here every one of those is a power. That is the whole of the bubble, by the way. It gives you a nice representation of how the bubble is actually spread out in space. And you can see that Eris is quite huge. But if you go to Mahan, you'll see where he is. Felicia Winters. Ooh, she has got quite a lot of systems which are... oh, yeah, it's up there. You can see, actually, on the map, you can see the amount of damage systems the Thargoids have hit. It's quite scary. Anyway. Two systems. So we're going to make a delivery, and then what that will do will make me reach my quota, which will allow me to maintain my standing to level 3 with this power. Now, what I mean by community is that there are various factions which you will find if you do some searches on the forums, who will try and organise player factions, I should point out, who try and organise so that their power always comes out on top. Mahan and Yuri and ALD are 3 of them that have very, very good community support. And what happens is there are a couple of players who really go to a lot of effort to work out, what's the best system to exploit, what's the best system to prepare, and we're quite lucky that every week we have a spreadsheet which comes out, and it gives a breakdown of what is needed in order to maintain ALD's position in the galaxy and try to also increase it. However, if your power doesn't have that kind of support network, then the game does kind of lose something. So it is it depends on the power that you have and its community to how much you get out of this game. I will say that I've tried this as a lone wolf and it doesn't work. It really doesn't, because it does feel too grindy. But if you have a bit of direction from your community, then it does feel like there's a purpose involved, and you do feel as if you're making a contribution. Right, so let's find a station I can land at. There we go. Now, as we approach this, I'll just point out, I'm not using my main character for this. This is my alt, Commander C. Hutchison. She is my Powerplay player, if you like. And I must admit, over the last 4 weeks where I've been giving this a try, I haven't even been using my main character at all. It's all been on her. So it just goes to prove that basically, if you do get into this and you have a good community, you end up really drawn in and wanting to get involved, which I never thought I would be. Now, obviously, fleet carriers have been released. Well, information about fleet carriers have released, and I'll probably be going over that in more detail in the next Top Shift, because there's a live stream happening this Thursday where they will be going into a lot more detail, and I should be able to break it down for everybody quite. From what I understand, there's a lot of important information coming, and when they say it's going to be a game changer, I think that's right. It will be a game changer, because although a lot of people are dismissing them as vanity items and just portable space stations, there does seem to be the potential for a whole load of more player-based, faction-based activity than just here, have a big ship. But that's, as I said, is for another Top Shift. We will make our delivery, and I will achieve my quota for the week, and then what I'll have to do for the next day or so before the next cycle starts is I will have to basically run missions, do trades, just to make up the lost revenue that I've had to shell out in order to get my Powerplay rating to where it is. So this is us fortifying a control system. Next week I will probably, hopefully, if I can, I will show you how the expansion works. Now, one thing that I am using a lot at the moment, especially on this ship, is the autopilots. Mostly because I just want these runs done. And they are quite good. And if you want pretty views when you're docking, this is the way to do it.
Set down on landing pad 05. You are cleared for automated approach, Commander. Scan detected.
You can hear the Blue Danube quietly in the background. Well, this looks like some kind of colony or holiday world.
Contact. Docking restraints engaged.
Yep, tourism.
Enjoy
I was
your
right.
trip, Commander.
So, over to my power contact, deliver all 80 supplies, confirm. So you can now see that the fortification progress is now, it's now over what it needs to be, so it didn't actually need my 80 tons, but it does put me over the 750 merits, which means that I will be okay for this turn this year. So just quickly, no, nothing to sell here. And here's my rating. I am now 783 merits. I've maintained my 750 for the week. So next week I will have half of that as my base starter, which will be carried over, and we'll take it from there. So that is the first stage in Powerplay. The easiest stage in Powerplay, I must also point out, and we will pick up with this again in a couple of episodes after we've had a look at fleet carriers. So thanks for joining me, and I will catch up with you all later. Good night.